Hello. I'm just letting you all enjoy the sunset with me for a while before I actually pop online myself. Oh my god. So nice. If I show my face, you don't get to see the beauty behind me. Hello, dear viewer. This is just a short, actually, before the live. So, sharing my own view to the sunset with me. Do, 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 do. So, here we are, finally, from the deck of my boat, so not just from the inside. So you can finally see my beauty and the new harbor where I am. So this is the side that I get to see Beautiful stuff. It's so pretty, I almost can't keep myself on the camera. It's too nice to not show you this. So 2020, here we go. Time for the stream to kick off. So as you can see, the first best and great news I have is that I finally found a harbor where I can stay for 6 months, and it's affordable, and you can see where my spot is. It's really, really amazing. I mean, I just can't. I can't. It's way more beautiful even in life. There's more like pink shades on the top. So this is now my life. I can't complain. I really can't complain. Loads of good stuff happened recently. So there's this harbor. I must say, also certain closures with one of my ex-partners, which was very surprising. Like, some people, even as tight and as self-protective as they can be, they are capable of overcoming that and freeing themselves actually from their own cage of self-perception and thinking that we're all too good or perfect. None of us are. I never claimed neither that I'm actually a good person, for example. So, yeah, good things happened. Let's say, at least I know now I can trust that person a lot more, that things are gonna be nice, safer to talk to. So it's amazing. Amazing to feel free myself, and even more amazing to see the freedom of the actual person who lived in a denial with herself. God, I can't get my own eyes off of this sunset. It's so nice and beautiful. So once the sunset is done, I'll be going down in the boat, and I'll be continuing from there. But I think it's just so nice that we can enjoy this view together. Just look at that, the whole site. It's amazing. So I would never again replace living in a flat for this Never. This is so much more different, so much more peaceful and free. And even when days go wrong, when you have something getting broken on the boat or stuff happens and you just have to drop your plans and quickly fix stuff and focus on something else, it's great. Especially when you get it done and fix it. And it's like sometimes you gotta do the MacGyver stuff. Really figure out things you've never done before. It's awesome. What can I say? Life's beautiful. So it's just so nice. I don't even want to talk actually. It's unbelievable. Look at these colors. Oh yeah. Well, one thing I was gonna talk about is fears. What kind of fears do we all have in life? Let's say, well, all. I don't know what kind of fears most people have. But I remember when I was a kid, my childhood was full of bullying, full of aggressive and violent people, whether it was home, whether it was school. And it was pretty challenging navigating this bullying and aggression. Hey, fearless. That's very good. But some fear is also good. Depends on what kind of fear. If it's fear that limits you and makes you freeze, that's probably not good. But if it's the kind of fear that you can face and deal with it, then that's perfect. But let's say, I was just talking about one of my fears, even as a child when I was bullied and abused. I understood even back then, but it was just much harder to articulate and explain. I was never so afraid of other people and what they do to me, as I was actually always afraid what might happen if they push me too far. And luckily, I must say, I never caved into that. Well, never. Yeah, I've been pushed too far. I've done things that were bad. But at least I've realized where my limits are and learned to respect my boundaries better because of that. But at the end of the day, I was always more afraid of what can happen if I do something bad than what anyone else can do to me. So maybe you can call that fearless. But yeah, what's there to be afraid when you have views like this to enjoy every day? Yeah. One thing I've always said to people: if you really wanna go and free yourself, you have to be able to face your own fears. You have to be able to see how far you can go to overcome those fears. Because I don't think every fear can be overcome. It is perfect indeed, yeah. Really, really. So freaking nice. Look at that. It's just the whole sky is on fire. I love it. So yeah, facing fears and stuff, like, let's say, one of the worst fears probably a lot of relationships suffer from is fear of abandonment, and then it can be really, really strong. And if it's not properly addressed, from my own experience, that shit is gonna tear you up. And if it's not gonna tear you up, it's gonna tear up your partner, because when you're afraid of being abandoned, I don't think there is any possibility of having properly healthy reactions to whatever's going on and the things that might be a bit hard to deal with, until you go and actually work on that stuff. So, and how does it mean to work? Yeah, sometimes you might just have to lose what you have to realize how important it was while you had it. sometimes you might have to lose yourself to see what was important to you about yourself. That's what happened to me. I was so afraid of losing everything, and then I'd lost it. So yeah, I think the more you let the fear drive you, the more likely it is that it's gonna manifest in reality. That's why it's really better to know your fears, but don't feed them. Do stuff that makes you knowledgeable about your fear. So the more you know about your fear, the less power it has over you. God, this is so beautiful, really. It's hard because not all the colors are really captured properly by the phone, but there you go. Jesus Christ, so nice. Well, cheers to that. If we, yeah, indeed, being afraid of what others might think and actually focusing on that a lot more than what really matters to you. That's the trap. That's this self-destructive cage and a trap that people create for themselves, because people will never really think about you, what you really are, even if they try their hardest to be, to be objective. It's impossible because we don't live in each other's heads. And that's why certain things, if we're gonna be bothered by what people, especially outside of our private and intimate relationships, are gonna think about us, then I don't think any one of us would be able to make proper progress in life. If you look at some of the biggest geniuses in history, they never gave a shit what others think. And that's why they were great, because they believed in their vision and they knew that what they're doing is something different, something unique that no one else understands and knows. Some of the best geniuses were always laughed at the beginning, called crazy. Look at the technology we have nowadays. Wireless, mobile phones, all of this stuff. Electricity. That all comes from one crazy genius called Nikola Tesla. The whole world abandoned that guy. And we still basically live, more than half of the stuff we use on a daily basis are his inventions, or at least came from his imagination. So yeah, this is maybe not the worst fear, but is the most pointless fear that people can have. What others are gonna think about us. My worst fear was definitely, like I said, the one where I was more afraid of the bad stuff that I could do and I did do. And then I was afraid of anything else, really. Not even dying would have scared me as much. Especially after I've actually faced the reality of getting almost killed. I realized that that shit didn't scare me as much, because I had the guy, I could have decked him, but I let him go because I saw this fear and afraid human being in his eyes. So that's why he almost got me. Was I afraid of dying? No. I was actually a lot more afraid of hurting him, because at that point it was pretty clear that I would have to hurt him bad if he wasn't gonna escape at some point. So yeah. But at least it was obvious from his following 2 attempts to come back to my boat and rob me. He did come to the boat, or even on the boat, but he definitely had no more courage to step inside the boat and physically attack me like he did the first time. So I believe that between the two of us, me and him, he was the one who definitely felt more fear than I did, from the fact that he realized I wasn't such an easy target. Yeah, all bullies are cowards, of course. And if they're not cowards, they're bullies because they're in pain and they don't know how to process this, in this process and regulate it. Pretty much everyone who hurts people are usually doing it because they're the ones hurt. I don't think anyone just goes on and decides I'm gonna be a bad guy and I'm gonna fuck other people up. That's not how that works. I think bad shit slowly starts chipping into your mind and into your stuff. And a lot of abuse has been normalized, is still being normalized throughout the years and ages. Let's look at the Hollywood in the 90s and stuff, and even up to these days. I mean, it's unbelievable. In the 90s, if we understood, we were still kids back then. I was basically a teenager. And if I understood, what the hell am I watching? That this is basically sexualization of children. I mean, none of us could have understood what's going on until we actually grow up enough. And then when you do grow up enough and you realize what the fuck happened, I mean, like, this is hard for a lot of people. And it's really not something, if you don't get help and stuff, you're not gonna be able to process it on your own. Like, at the end of the day, what was my reaction to a bully? Well, yeah, kind of like counter-bullying myself. Maybe not bullying, but you know, when you start using physical and even passive aggression and verbal aggression to sort of protect your own boundaries and integrity, well, that sucks because you've just done exactly the opposite of that. So yeah, bullies are cowards indeed, but even more importantly with the bullies is the fact that they are more often a lot more in pain than the people suffering from them and in need of help. Just unfortunately, a lot of them are then potentially suffering from one or the other type of disorder, which doesn't help them reflect and fix those issues that they have. But it's good. What life taught me from all of that is like, you don't need to physically react to anyone unless you are in actual danger, maybe. Yesterday I had a funny coincidence. A drunk bicyclist almost ran over me, and apparently he must have had a bad day or something, even though he was pretty drunk and it was late in the evening. Because his reaction was rather aggressive and he was looking for a fight. And for me it was funny because I just backed off the fight and two other guys approached, kind of stepped in between us. So that was for me an opportunity to get out of that situation. But knowing the whole moment, the whole situation, knowing that I could have easily thrown the guy off the bridge into the river or done something else to him. The fact that I didn't do anything, and then later, as I was walking around and I discovered this one really amazing place. So it's like a very big restaurant and a bar, open quite late. And it turns out those two guys that stepped in and kind of helped me de-escalate this situation, they were there. So it was really fun because they immediately approached me and they said that they admired my composure and how calm I was. And the fact that the guy was a lot larger than me, so, you know, it could be quickly a different kind of reaction. But no, for me it was just knowing enough that he was way too drunk to even walk straight. I didn't have to do anything. It was really unnecessary to provide any kind of physical resistance to the situation and the fact that he was trying to kick me. He actually fell on the ground once quite badly because of his own lack of balance. So, and that's what kind of prompted me to talk about a little bit about this experience with people, that's how different it was before this whole year of trauma and fucking shit that I went through. Because before in life, it would be, all my reactions were sort of justified anger, I would say. And then I did have to learn that there is no such thing as justified anger. Never mind whether the reasons might be right or wrong, but just being angry and pushing down that pain and anger for whatever reasons is never gonna end up well. It's always going to do something that you might not be able to control anymore. So yeah, Jesus Christ, it's so nice. Now the iPhone is really not doing this the justice anymore. And I can't change it. YouTube doesn't have any functionality to change this stuff. But yeah. I hope you do enjoy the sunset more than my pretty face. Yeah, indeed, I would say that maybe going through all this, I became a little bit more what you could call fearless, yeah. It's not that I don't have any fears. Don't know, let's say this weekend I was facing the fear of like, holy shit, you know, I'm talking to my ex again, but I am afraid. Afraid if it turns south again and stuff. And for whatever reason, it could be me, it could be her. But if I gave into that fear and told her, look, maybe it's not the best idea to come, it could probably cause more upset. So like, you know, it can cause feelings of rejection or, yeah, even in that case, selfishness, because let's say very often I would, in the heat of an argument, I would prefer to leave the apartment, leave the home, not to avoid having that argument, but to actually delay things until emotions get a little bit calmer so you can talk a bit more composed. But yeah, in the end, I was really happy that this tiny little fear of having an opportunity to communicate with my ex again, even though it has turned a little bit mature before, but then it went kind of in cycles backwards as well. But I convinced myself, like, it's my own fear, that's my own problem. It's got nothing to do with her. Even if she does do something and says something or reacts in a way that it might be uncomfortable for me, what's there to be afraid? Now I know my boundaries. The only difference is, are people going to respect them or not? And if they don't, then it means, yeah, it was probably the last chance. But given that lessons were learned on both sides, I must say that that fear was really meaningless. It meant nothing in the end. And I'm so glad that it really meant nothing. So, it may be hard, very often in relationships as well. All these kind of anxious attachments or abandonment attachments and stuff. This is also hard because it gets often very confused and thrown around with selfishness and lack of empathy and stuff, and then maybe even narcissism. All these things can be really, really hard, and not just for the people who are on the other side of these things, but you have to understand that it's much harder for the person who is suffering from these things, like from, I don't know, avoidant attachment. Because at the end of the day, they have feelings for you, they love you, they want to be with you, but they just don't know how to actually connect, how to actually really, really be intimate, and how to really trust. I had trust issues, but I developed them as I was growing older. I never had trust issues from the beginning. Well, obviously I did understand I couldn't trust my parents to take care of me, so that created this hyper empathy and hyper vigilance when you just suddenly start relying on everyone else around you and try to read their emotions so you can navigate this society with zero skills that you had from your family. Well, yeah. In the end, when it comes to trust issues, it still turned out that I was way more afraid of trusting myself with a relationship than other people. And not like I cheat or something. I don't. I never cheated. I don't lie. I'm honest. But I was more afraid of the fact that I knew my own problems and toxicity. And I was not ready for the relationship. Or maybe at least I believed so. And yeah, it's at the end of the day, if those issues do stay like-minded, unresolved, and you don't find the right kind of help, it's gonna be inevitable that you attract that kind of person that really shows you the mirror of who you are. especially once the children are involved. It's just, you can be as intelligent as you can be, but let's face it, half of the relationships fall apart. 50% of relationships fall apart. They don't last for very long. And even if they do last for very long, they don't last for lifetime. And it's interesting because most people think that the relationships is all about passing over the honeymoon phase and then building some kind of friendship, but that is merely just a couple of steps in the whole process. It does actually have to boil down even to the points where there are phases of, let's say, more realistic looking or argumentative phases. So how else are you going to connect with person if not also exploring all of their sides, including the dark ones, and knowing that even when those exist, you can trust. And that's when acceptance, respect, trust, and real friendship starts to develop in a relationship. And if it starts with that, instead of just the honeymoon phases and all the mushy feelings, it has a lot better chance of success. And only after that comes this real big magical piece of relationship that we call oneness, when two people are really just like one. And love in itself is not enough. That requires a lot more dedicated work and knowing yourself, making yourself better, and not for the sake of the other, but for the sake of your own safety, trust, and health in a relationship. Yeah, so there's really nothing better than facing the fears. But if you have a really big fear, then start doing it slow. Peek into it to begin with. Don't just jump. Not everyone is like me, jumping straight into the pits of hell, and after the 7th time of jumping in there, you start to enjoy the journey. This is not for everyone, for sure. But the more consistently you do it, even if you do it in very small bits, eventually it's gonna start losing the power. Eventually you're gonna realize that fear was really nothing. There was nothing inside, and then on the outside it had no shell. I think for the most of us, what's really happening, that we're more often afraid, not just of what we can do when it's bad, but also what do we do when things are really good? Someone like me who's never had a lot of that, it can be sometimes a bit overwhelming and scary, because you get used to chaos, disorder, violence, shouting, and it just becomes normal. And then suddenly you meet people who are not like that. They're different, they're calm, nice, caring. And it's just hard to believe it's true. It's really hard to trust. And then you start looking for their own mistakes, even if they're not there. Or the other way around. People might be really bad, but because you're such a hyper-empathetic person, you're gonna keep seeing the good in them, even what they don't want to. And if it's there or not, it doesn't matter. More often, for my case, it's always, I see the good that is really in the people. But if they don't want to see it, and they cannot see it, then there's nothing I can do to make them see what I see. So this was also a big part of the lesson. I was afraid that my partner is not loving me properly. Never mind whether that was true or not. But what change does that make? I mean, I can't make them love me. They can only do that themselves. So what was the point of that fear, other than it created a very hostile environment, defensive environment? So yeah, eat the fear. If you eat it, later all that can happen from it is a big burp, because, you know, like I said, fear is just another empty bubble of air. like, I don't know, one of my best moments in life was skydiving. And it's not about the fact that anything can happen and you could die. What made it more difficult to jump off a perfectly functioning aeroplane with a parachute on your back, which you still have to open yourself, so God forbid something happens and you pass out, right? That's when I realized how hard it is to really just let go of life when you have kids, when you have people you care about, when you're, whether you liked it or not, when you became emotionally attached. And yeah, for me it was always not so much the fear of losing people, but also what the people that need me would do when I'm not around. Always kind of felt responsible to be there and, you know, cannot let them behind. And what did that happen to me? What did that do to me? I got lost. I didn't know who I was anymore. So yeah, you won't be able to be there for other people if you're not there for yourself. You won't be able to love others if you don't love yourself. You cannot be a good friend to others if you're not the best friend to yourself first. A cup must be full in order to give what is more than full. And even if you want to give from your own cup, if there's nothing left in the cup or only half of it left, and you give that half, you've just given yourself away. So the cup must be full, or as full as possible. Yeah. Fear is good. It reminds us what is still in there in us that we need to try and figure out and find out. Usually we fear the unknown. And when it becomes more known to us, then there's no more fear. Now that I know how it feels, well, not that it's first time, but now that I know how it feels losing everything, once you've really done it all, it's not so bad at all. At least it made me face the reality that I was living 25 years in a career I really didn't like. It's not that I didn't like what I was doing. I was really great at my job. And I loved it for that fact, because I was just really good at that stuff. But working for the kind of industry that is really not aligned with your own energy and beliefs, I don't know, it's like, imagine that you're against slavery, but the one company you're working for is, let's say, in slave trafficking or something. That's pretty much how I was doing it. So of course, naturally, the whole thing fell out of balance. I fell out of balance. You always have to respect yourself and really be yourself. Never give in to the norms of society and the system for whatever the cost. Oh, but you're a father and you must feed. Yeah, of course. I am a father and I must feed, but not at all cost. Not at the cost of giving my soul and my life away so that I can just provide. At the end of the day, they grow up. My oldest one is gonna be 16 tomorrow. He's pretty much old enough to start taking care of himself if he knows what to do. And if he doesn't, he can ask questions and he's gonna get the answers. I was just 1 year older when I left home. Never came back. And I'm glad I did. Yeah. Living life to the fullest, as they say, is not all about fun, especially short-term pleasure. Living life to the fullest means that you're really gonna soak it in, embrace it all, with the highs and the lows, with the rewards and the challenges. It's all just as important. Cringe? What is cringe? Please elaborate, dear buddy. If you have nothing better to do than popping on some random stream and saying cringe, I think you need to find yourself a life more worthy of living. It's alright. I'm used to people like that, it's fine. Just no hard feelings at all. Just try to understand that things that may seem cringe to you may be really a lot more valuable to others. Feel free to enjoy some of my other videos and past live streams. It might make you feel good. Don't be sorry, it's fine. I hope you have a wonderful evening, or wherever you are, a day. Yeah, well, kids are kids. That's alright. How old is he? Hey, so how old is your kid? 4. He's really young to tell me that I'm cringe. What the hell is he watching on YouTube? you gotta keep a little bit an eye on that one, I think. Yeah, I mean, I get you. Look, I've got the other 3 there. Like, one of them is gonna be 3 years soon, and then 5 and 7. Yeah, I think it's better that you do know what they watch, trust me. Because there's like even this kids stuff on YouTube. It's not really all good for them. Definitely not. Media is fucking bad. Social media is even worse. So my kids, I mean, with an exemption of the oldest one, because he's not in my custody. He wasn't ever. But we talk about it a lot, and he realized like he's not playing online games. He did, but not as much. I mean, for a kid his age, he's great. He's not hooked onto social media and stuff like that. Yeah, I mean, for a 4-year-old, he doesn't even know what cringe means, although it was quite spot on, to be honest. It was funny. But yeah, it's okay. Kids nowadays are smart, way smarter than we were, and they are exposed to a lot more stuff than we were, so it's pretty natural to expect that they're not gonna turn maybe as nice as we did. You too. I wish you a good day. Give your son a hug for me. Tell him that I like him. Yeah, children. They are the best gift. But they also show us a lot about ours. a lot about ourselves. And yeah, one thing as parents, I think we should all understand that there's no such thing as being a perfect parent or a great parent. Even if you do everything right, it's either gonna be the kids that are gonna say something to you that could hurt, or it's really like, I know a lot of parents that did everything, didn't help their children from avoiding drug abuse or stuff like that. Because at the end of the day, it's not just us as parents, it's also society, it's also so much more. And a character. Character is something that neither the environment or us ourselves can influence. That is the part that never changes. It's always the same. There's only just certain nuances around it. But yeah, it's very great. It's interesting to see how kids are learning and developing and growing up so fast these days. Learning meanings and words we never even understood at that age. Having said that, it's getting nicely dark. I hope the few of you who have stayed with me and those of you who have watched the sunset, that you have enjoyed it. I hope it was also a good stream and good topic. I hope to see you back again next time. Thanks for watching. And of course, to all my new subscribers, hello and thank you for subscribing. Thank you for the comments, guys. Also, definitely the 4-year-old, thanks, even though you made me chuckle. Maybe I am cringe, but you know, I still love myself even when I'm cringe. Yeah, it's good. I'm so happy that lately I can really just say a lot of good things, a lot of positive stuff. Like even if anything really bad did happen, well, it didn't really. Nothing bad happened recently at all, which is kind of, it's a bit weird. It's a bit weird to have a life when it's just nice, balanced, peaceful. People that I meet accept me with all my baggage included. So yeah, life is good. It's as pretty as the sunset today. Sometimes even more. Thank you all for watching, and I wish you a really, really wonderful rest of the Sunday, evening, whatever, wherever you are. And I'll see you soon, possibly next week if I don't get too busy with sailing around and fixing my boat again. But I will try to provide some more updates as to what else is going on. That's it. Thanks for watching. Have a good one.